Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Welcome back to the Nasi Exchange. My name is Trina, and we
My
have.
name is Charles.
All right. So, welcome back, everyone. Again, the Nasi Exchange. This is episode 3, where we are going to discuss and just give our impressions of the Amanda Seals interview that she recently did with the Breakfast Club. That after she did the virtual what was that show she did?
BET Awards.
BET Awards. Yes, she did it virtually, and from what I've heard about it, she did a good job. But that interview was very insightful, brought
Yeah,
up a
that
lot of
interview was
things.
on July 17th, yeah.
Yeah, so we are going to talk about her interview and just give our perspective and what we think about what she said. So again, welcome to the Nasi podcast. So whether you're Nasi or you can't see, clean up your heart and come. So let's do it. All
Mm-hmm.
right, bro. Let's jump right in.
Like, cause I watched it. I've always watched Amanda Steele stuff. I follow her on Instagram. Um, she also she normally just some real insightful stuff. She's very intelligent, but sometimes she do certain things are perception on things where you have to be like, huh, like she seems contradictory. But this interview though, out of all the times that I've seen her in the past, I don't know. This one for me, she just seemed different. Like she seemed more together. She still makes sense, but no, it's like you're not seeing some negative energy. If that makes sense.
That's interesting
Like,
because
does the way how she talk? No, I don't know. There was something about her. I say, I admire her work. She always has something inside to say. But and sometimes in her interviews and I pass in from the Breakfast Club, oh, she bring across certain things. Like,
she come okay, let's just call a spade a spade. She comes across but people will call the angry black woman.
Angry Black Woman one, yeah, like Angry Black Woman, a little bit kind of bitter, and also like she always talk about accountability and being authentic. So my time, it don't sound like you're selling your product is what matches what's on the label in the past just by the interview itself. Like after the interview done, you can look back on the interview and be like, no, that way you say this sort of contradict something else. You say over here, so like, but this interview, like none of that.
But here's the thing that is interesting that you said that, because in this interview she talks about the evolution of self that she's been going through, wherein
And being
she
in
had
a
to,
dark place and
it's
all that.
almost like she had a come to Jesus moment where she realized that there were some things about her that
It's hard
needed
to fix. Need
to be
healing.
fixed, and she needed to change. And so maybe that's why you're getting that kind of a vibe from her, because she is truly doing the work. She's doing the work to actually
So,
improve on herself.
so
Doing the
literally,
work.
if you followed her, it will give you the the idea of somebody, like you literally you see the evolution of a person. Like you understand, like literally. Like what
Yep.
you're seeing is the evolution of a person. And that's good.
Yep. One of the things she said, again, she did the BET Awards all virtual, and I mean, I didn't watch it, but I've listened to people who've reviewed it, and people said she did a good job, and she was giving like behind the scenes information in terms of saying
So
that
all
it
of
was
it came
like a
together.
one man show in
Pretty
her
much.
living room, and she's doing everything. But so one of the things that Charlemagne brought up, and I thought this was very, 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 very profound. You know, in our culture, people said, don't despise small beginnings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that this
And
before.
so he pointed out to her, because she was tripping about whether or not she can do this and freaking out, because she said at first it was supposed to be taped in a studio. Then people came down with corona, and so now
Somebody
they're
on our
like
team got tested positive, so
positive for
everybody have to
corona.
quarantine.
So now they're like, we can't do it in the studio anymore. We have to do this remotely in your house. So she talked about how she was freaking out, because she's like, there's no way, there's no way, there's no way. And Charlemagne had to remind her, like, what do you mean? You were built for this. You were doing your own, what was it?
Show or skits,
Show that
comedy
she,
skits in
or
our
comedy
basement.
skit already, that she was doing the producing, the writing, the makeup, the like everything
Everything. She would make her own skits and by herself in her basement. That's how
online,
she started. And then posted it
online.
online. That's the message of like you've been doing that. That's one of the things where you come up that you started doing from early back then. So you being in your house, now it's a greater audience, quote unquote, is a
But it's like the
show.
same
But
thing.
you've been doing the basic of this already.
Yeah, life
And
was already preparing you for this. So it's
and that's the thing that they
interesting.
said. She
Yeah,
said like what Charla says is like everything that you have done in your life prepares you for the next
for
moment.
the next
So
moment.
like so literally so that was like a perfect example of that. Like everything that you have done, working by yourself, go up into whatever, doing your own this,
Now
your own
you
special.
wrote a
Like
book, you're on the
everything that you
reel.
have done prepared you exactly for that moment, to deliver on that moment.
Right.
No matter how simple it may seem at the time.
Right. And so how many of us go through life
Thinking like
and
that.
we freak out because we don't see ourselves that we can't do this. We can't, we can't do this. I remember, and if you don't mind me bringing out an example for you,
Mm-hmm.
remember when you were applying for the job and you were at one job and I told you, I said, bro, apply for the position that's higher than what you have now. Remember? And we had this discussion and
And
you
that
didn't see it in yourself. You were like, no, I don't have any experience in. I was like, what are you talking about? I said, you
and
literally run at night this front desk with minimal people and do all type of things, and you are doing, and I was like, yeah, you might not have had the title as manager, but you have managerial skills that you've been honing all this time coming up. So I'm like, if you're gonna apply for this new job, just apply for and you remember that you
yeah, I
couldn't
remember that
even
conversation.
see
And
it.
and
You
that's a
couldn't.
perfect example because that's not only with me, but I also see like with friends and all that. It's like the same thing. You downplay your experience. That's the word. You downplay your experience,
Perfect.
what you have done. And then when you see the opportunity for that next level, you're like, no, I haven't done anything similar to that because you're thinking of it as a vacuum. But if you really look at it as experience and the things that you have done up until this point and what is needed, the characteristics and that the experience that is needed to do this, you realize that although you never had that title before, you've been doing all of that or elements of that up until that point. So you have what it takes
You have the
to
tools.
tools, exactly. You have the tools, the experience to take it to the next level, to do what is needed. But a lot of people don't see it in that moment. Like as Amanda says, she freak out when they call her and like, yo, you can't leave your home. She's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Like in that moment, the doubt sets in, the negative thought pattern set in, and you don't see it.
Yep.
And it's good when you have people like
People.
you, Charlemagne for her, have people to remind you, like, no, you've been doing this. Like, you have the tools needed to do
To
this,
get this done. Yep.
to get it done. Don't play your experiences. You understand?
So
Get you you
like
have you can do it.
so like that one of the
That was
big take,
profound.
yeah,
That was
one of
really
the big
profound for real.
takeaways for me for that is one, again, don't play yourself on your experiences.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Don't minimize
Don't
yourself.
minimize
Don't be
your,
arrogant. And that's when you inflate yourself. So you're trying to be what you're not. That's a different thing.
that's a whole different thing.
That's a whole different
But
thing.
but
But
there's a
most people do the opposite.
yeah,
Arrogant people, the amount of people who have low self-esteem, and this is just personally me, the more that people have low self-esteem compared to the more that people have high self-esteem, I think the low people are in the majority, and the people that have too much is in the minority. You understand? So most people actually don't play the experience.
yeah, you have to have like an accurate perception of self.
Yes,
You have to have an
self-aware,
accurate view of
self-aware,
yourself and be very self-aware. And again, your experiences matter, they count.
and
Don't,
have people that
and it
when
might
you
not be exactly what, but
the
you have to
concept
look
remains
at,
the same.
right, you have to look at what skills are needed for this job. Do
Yes.
I possess those skills? And she clearly did. Like, she did all these things, come all the way up to now, and you would think like, why are you freaking out? Like,
You've been doing
been
this.
doing this. It's almost like
Doing this.
this was like the perfect job for her, because unlike maybe someone else, maybe like a more famous person or listen, they could not have done it. Like somebody who didn't have the skill set and everything that she had, they literally they could not have done it by
You understand? The
themselves.
person, she basically was a one-man show for a period
Yes.
of time in her career, and this was basically
And
another one-man show.
because I mean, even though people could help her, they were all remote. She said her
Yeah.
makeup artist was remote, her
So
hairstylist was
so
remote.
it's like Zoom call.
Yes.
So she's on one screen, if make and the makeup is okay, do this
Like,
and do
put it
that, and she's
right,
on the other side. But remember, say you have to have the tools. But when the makeup artist say put this, that, you can actually apply it.
and
This, that.
literally, she's there like switching out between clothes and setting up backdrop and doing all this stuff that she felt like she couldn't do, but she could. She just did not see it. She
Realize
just did
that
not
the
have an
artist could.
actual perception and looking at everything that she brought to the table and be like, I'm built for this. This was like the perfect thing for her. And this leads into the other thing. She could have missed her blessing altogether with that kind
Happens
of
all the time.
mentality. Because how many of
All the time.
us, something is built for you like that, and you're just like,
You know, see,
I'm not doing it.
mm,
I'm not doing it.
you know, you
I'm
see
not
all of
doing it.
the negatives of it.
And so now you'd have shut down that opportunity and you'd have go to somebody else and shut that down, all because you didn't have the correct lens. You're not seeing yourself with the correct lens.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. So I mean, that was one of the things that jumped out to me when and here's the other part to this. Here's another part to this. I'll use myself as an example. The job I have now, and this is going to be like an opposite to you, what your story. The job I have now, when I decided that I'm going to apply for it, I had people who were my superiors. They told me they didn't think I could do it. In fact, my boss who's over the division, he said, you're not ready for this. You don't have enough experience for this. You've not been with the company long enough. We don't think you can do it. But I believed I could do it. And whatever I lacked, I was like, I'll go get it. Whatever I need to go find, I'll go find it. Whatever. Yes, I wasn't there long. I was probably there by that time, like a year and a half. and there's some policies and stuff that I just need to go find the policy and read it. You know what I did? I created a policy book. So if I'm in a meeting and something come up that I'm just kind of like, this area I'm not familiar with, I pull up my little black book and I'm skimming pages. And so to this day, that's one of the things that even a few days ago, I was talking to the lady that was my 3 at the time. Because in my job, you have a supervisor and then you have a mentor, which is a 3. And she said, remember when you came to me and you said to me, hey, I'm thinking of applying for this job, and I told you I don't see you being able to do that job. So there is that on the other side of it, when the people who you are looking to for advice, they're telling you, well, you can't do that. But then again, you have to know what you have and what you're bringing to the table.
It comes back to the point of being self-aware.
Yeah. I knew that I could do this. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be difficult, but this is not beyond my learning capacity. Exactly. And yes, so it will stretch me,
being self-aware.
I got this. And so now, and then also I was kind of like, I'm going to prove y'all wrong. Watch me work.
But no, that is, as I said, that's the flip of the coin. That's the opposite. That somebody will have self-aware, the self-esteem to realize, yo man, I go do it, go do what I need to do, watch me do my thing. And then the opposite is in the moment, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So those are the 2 examples of the same, the same scenario, same situation, but we can play out differently.
Right.
You understand? The only difference and the only thing we can in that scenario is self-aware. Because here's the thing, even though Charlamagne look on her and say, yo, you got this, if she didn't snap out and come to self-awareness and be like, yeah, I got this, still fall apart.
Yeah. Should have missed it altogether.
So, exactly. So you know when you say, oh, you can't do this, you be like, yo, no, I got this. So you have to still have the self-awareness in our life. So either way, you have to be the one to be like, yo, I got this, and do what you need to do. Because either way, you're going to miss the opportunity. Because if you don't, you're going to miss the opportunity.
Yeah. So the other thing that she talked about, and I'm trying to find, because someone in the comments had said it.
So you have I think again, well, Eric, the one that, I don't know if this is the same one. The one what stood out for me, because the next part that jumped out for me, like directly after that, she talked about what she learned during quarantine and all that. And she said doing the show by herself make her realize, like, she don't want to do life like that no more. Mm-hmm. She don't want to be strong and be able to do all of this by herself. She realized, like, yo, I need a partner, somebody that I can rely on in times like that to help me. You understand? She needed somebody that she can be soft to. That's the word that she used. Like, she needs softness in her life now, because she has grown so much strength, independence, and I can do this. She built all of that, but now she's at the point where she after the pinnacle of that with the BET, she's like, yo, I was like, nah, I already proved to the world I can do this, but now I want, like, I'm ready for the next level, which is to now do this with somebody else standing beside. So she's like, yo, no, she feels like she's really ready for a relationship. She like all along she thought she was ready, but now she thinks like, yo, she's really ready. And that's the thing, like, because I'm gonna try to find a quote that because somebody thinks somebody has in the comment.
It says, I was trying to scroll down and look for
what about the strength?
Yeah, like, so let me just say this that I found. And this person in the comment says, what Amanda is realizing about accepting the softness is femininity they said black women have had to be strong for so long that we forget how to relax and find someone who will be strong for us.
True.
Because if you really think about Amanda, she always came across as the strong, I am independent. I am,
You can't take me for no fool.
I ain't no punk.
I'm
Yeah,
intelligent.
you can't punk me. So she came across as like, I want to say unreasonable, but just hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like hard.
Strong.
And it's almost like she had the posture as if she is always on the attack. Like she's just on the attack, on the defensive, and she ready.
Ready.
She on ready. She gonna go hard. And so now she's talking about she wants to be soft. No, that shocked me. I ain't gonna tell no lie.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm saying before when you hear her when she talk, even more relationship and all of that, you always be like, oh, you kind of sound bitter though. Like, is it that all men are trash? Or maybe, maybe, I don't know.
Or maybe you're just hard to deal with.
Trash. Like,
or maybe she's hard to deal with.
So to hear her say that at this point, like, granted, I'm not saying all men could have just been trash.
Yeah. But she can also be hard to deal with.
Exactly. If
you have someone that is always on 10 and always on ready, because she even said it in the interview, like now she's learning that a conversation, even if you're
hold back.
Exactly. How many people, even with
hold back on certain things?
Yes, even with your partner, like you have a disagreement, it's like attack. But if you're in a team, right, and you realize and you have the concept that, if I hurt that person that you claim you love,
you're hurting the whole team.
You're hurting yourself because you're hurting the team. So it's not like you're wrong or right. It's just that, listen, we disagree.
What you do is how you do it.
How you do it. You have to have, it's not that you don't have the conversation. It's not, and listen, here's the other part. I have had to learn that in relationships, you have to have those hard conversations. And hard conversations is where everybody's uncomfortable. And in order to have those hard conversations, you have to be vulnerable. How many people are not okay with being vulnerable? You're not vulnerable, but this is so crazy. If you cannot be vulnerable with a person that you claim that you love, you go to bed with them, you have sex with them, you swap spit with them, but you can't be vulnerable. And vulnerable doesn't just mean that, okay, let's say you have a death in the family and you cry and they're there for you. Vulnerable means that there is something about you that this person is saying, yo, this thing right here is hurting me. Or I don't like this.
And you have to be willing to
accept. And you have to be willing to be vulnerable enough for someone
try to understand where they're coming from.
Where that person is coming from.
Without being defensive and attacking
and go on the attack, so that you can be in the posture of, I am open to hear what you have to say to me, in a posture of openness, and that I'm being vulnerable.
Yeah, defensive, being soft. Because, all right, let me find a quote. You say, this person have, that strength that what she said in the interview, said, that strength that you think you're putting up to keep people from hurting you is doing the same work to keep people from loving you.
And it's true. A lot of people don't realize that.
Men and women do that, especially probably more women so, because, to this society, see us soft and whatever, they build this strength, continuously building to show that,
I'm strong.
Like one meme, when we see what a woman post, and I'm like, me as a funny, and be like, huh? When they say, I'm stubborn and I talk back. I'm not built for no soft man. And I'm like, you realize how counterproductive that is?
Right?
To a team or partnership, to literally, you're saying that you have to be like beaten into submission. Like, what?
It's
I'm like,
more, it gives you the connotation of a relationship being adversarial.
yes, that's like, I talk
Why
back and I'm stubborn, so I ain't built for no
why do
talking.
you
And I'm like,
want to be in an adversarial?
exactly, like, why are you entering this like it's a like
It's already a
you
fight.
got to beat me down to get me to change my position. You got to keep me off of this hill because I'm stubborn. And even then, I'm going to be giving you side remarks and talking back and trying
But
to hurt you.
listen,
Because
check
one of
it
the way
out.
that women, because we people talk about domestic violence, because this is going to be the next topic where we be like, ooh, people talk about domestic violence. Men hit, punch, whatever. They're marked. There's bruises. You know what I think what women do? Words. And sometimes words hit harder than a fist. Some women will beat the shit out of you as a man with their words. So this idea of, yo, I talk back. When, for example, you say you do something and the man is like, yo, I didn't like this. And that's different when he's being unreasonable about some stupidness, but he's being reasonable and he's like, yo, B, so many like this. And instead of you hearing him out, it's just quick retorts and bop, 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 quick punches, and you knock his ass out. So you turn a simple, what it could be like an opening, vulnerable, building, bonding conversation into an argument. And because you're on the defensive and you're hitting him. And I'm like, that's counterproductive.
It is
You can't be, and then you can't be like, oh, and then the same women be like, oh, men are so hard, they can't be soft, they can't be vulnerable and show their emotions. And how am I gonna show my emotion when you're ready to punch me out? Every chance you get,
but that's not
words.
only that.
You're gonna hit me with them words. No, I'm not gonna be vulnerable to you. You ain't gonna catch me slipping to punch me out with them words. No. So when I see that meme, I'm like, do you understand what you're saying? Like, this is so counterproductive.
Here's the thing. A lot of times this is what we do as people, and I don't think sometimes we realize it. So let's say you have a problem with, I don't know, somewhat people taking advantage of you in whatever context that is. So instead of learning, because people take, so instead of learning the art of saying no, and also learning how to have proper boundaries, what we do instead is, I'm not a friend, I like people, I like be around people, and then you isolate yourself. So in order to fix the problem, you
build walls around yourself.
You build a wall around yourself. You actually take, it's like you take a negative stance or a negative approach to fixing the thing that you don't want to happen. But in doing that, you're really not fixing the issue. What you're doing is creating a bigger issue.
Because guess what? It's when somebody scale the wall,
oh, you're done.
Exactly. And you're going to even end up more hurt.
You're going to end up under the wall where you build.
Yes. So you're going to end up even more hurt than before.
Under.
Because the fact saying scale the wall or go through the wall, you're going to be so vulnerable at this point. And you're probably just end up being so used and abused because you make it so. Here's the thing. The problem was that you were making it too easy because you don't have no boundaries.
Yep.
So when a man, whoever go through the wall, male or female, it's like, all you can eat buffet now. Yes.
And the problem is still there. You don't have any boundaries and you don't know how to say no.
Too much. You end up being just everything now because you never fix the problem of pacing yourself, pulling back. You never fix that. So once you go to your wall, everything will start pour out. And then if it goes south, you will end up worse than before. Yeah. Now the problem was not to put a barrier around the pitcher with the where you go pouring out. It was to change the spout. Instead you have a big spout, get a smaller one. Yeah. So it pours slowly. That was what you should have done. So you should have learned to say no and boundaries.
So going back to the old Amanda Seals thing. So I mean, in that interview where she talks about actually coming to a realization and yeah, again, a come to Jesus moment with herself where she's feeling like she doesn't want to be this hard, woman. She actually wants to be soft. And here's the thing though. One of the things that she even had to come to the realization to, being soft or vulnerable does not mean that
You're
you
weak.
are incapable, or it
Or
does not mean that you are not professional. It doesn't mean that you're a pushover. You can't listen. Some of the I don't know, for me, like I've seen women and they're strong and rah and quick and and their tongue is sharp as a tack, and they just, and then when you really look at them, you look at them and you're like,
it's sad.
you're really soft, but you
Yes.
have all this bravado to try and protect yourself, but you're
Mhm.
actually a softie.
And all the things that you said don't affect you actually affect
It
you.
does, you know, but they don't know. It's almost like they don't know how to, they don't want to let that guard down because they don't want to be seen as soft. But my thing is,
And also,
why is there a negative connotation to be quote unquote soft? Because for me, that's something I had to like overcome, because I am more gentle or soft per se, and I had to, because I was like, man, I need to be harder. I used to beat myself up. What's going on out there?
I heard a car, so I was wondering, like,
Oh,
huh? What's going on?
I used to beat myself up about like, man, I'm too soft. I'm too nice. Like, that's the word. I'm too nice. But then I really had to come to the realization is there's nothing wrong with being nice. There's nothing wrong with being compassionate. There's nothing wrong about giving people grace. What I needed to do or learn how to do is to have strong boundaries
And have wisdom
and
to
have
know
wisdom.
when and who. And you understand? It's like you say, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's
Yeah.
knowing when to do what.
Yeah. So I don't need to yell and scream and act, angry and just and act, you know what I mean? I don't need to do any
Mhm.
of that to know to let somebody, I mean, people know, like, listen, you can go this far and no more. And if you say something I don't like, I correct you. If you do something I don't like, I won't like, I will correct you. And if you persist, then you'll get that angry side of me that you really not gonna like. However, I feel like I'm like an approachable type of person. I don't have this walls up that seem like I'm unapproachable. And a lot of people who are walled up, they come across as unapproachable. And immediately when people come in their space, it's interesting. Here's the other thing that's interesting. How, and I'm gonna say kinetically, and I'm talking in terms of like energy wise, how people feed off other people's energy. And this thought just came to me. So let's go with this. It's funny, like you've never met somebody, right?
Mhm.
And you go in their space, and immediately, like something inside of you, depending on the kind of aura or energy that that person is giving off, when you meet them, you immediately go on alert, danger, or like in Jamaica, we say spirit, just spirit,
Spirit tech.
you're either spirit tech
Spirit
or
no tech.
nah. And just so if you go on somebody who already has walls up, defenses up, and they're giving off this like, it's almost like a red alert, red alert, red alert, red alert, red alert. So when you go around them, it's like immediately you go on the defensive. You don't even know why, but you are already on the defensive, and you're just like, I don't like this person, even though like you might get to know them further on, and you're just like, this person is nice. they're rough around the edges, but they're nice. You know what I mean? But it's almost like that energy that you give out, other people come in your space and you're wondering like, why do I have so much difficulty with people, or why don't they like me, or why am I always seeing like I'm fighting and tugging and having this kind of combative relationship? But it's because of the type of energy that you're already giving off.
And the energy, and sometimes just the way you talk.
Yeah,
Some people,
your words.
the, the type of languages, the language and the words they use,
Yep,
and the tone,
yep,
just the way they talk,
yep,
is
just
like it just put up on a defensive.
yep.
So they can ask one question like for example, like you're lying up or somewhere, and somebody will just come to and say, "Yo, are you in the line?" That's a simple question, but just the way they talk, it just put up on the defensive, like because it's not like a question, it's like an interrogation. It's like an accusation, just the way they talk. So a lot of people, and because he was talking about specifically like in a personal relationship. So a lot of people in their personal relationship with their partners, this is how they talk. So again, a simple conversation, or what could have been a simple conversation, always goes into an argument,
Yep.
because you just by the way you approach the conversation, you put the next person on the defensive.
Yep. Your
And when there's
tone,
nothing to be defensive about.
your tone, you're coming right off the rip, and your tone is more of an accusation than a question. You're already in that accusatory, defensive posture. And then when you're listening, you're not listening to understand. You're
You're listening
listening to
to
defend,
defend yourself, to reply.
to defend your point, to defend what you're saying. So if the person says something, so now you can twist what they're saying. Oh, so you're saying that you don't, and they're like, that's not even what I'm trying to say. Like, where did you get that from? What I just like, what in the heck?
Hmm.
That is not what I'm trying to say.
Hmm. And so I think when she said that, that was her coming to realization. So like, yo, she has a role to play in
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 the
her relationship.
dysfunction.
Like
Yep.
she has a role to play with finding with maintaining a relationship. You understand? And she talked something when we all talk about, which I try to practice. I tell people to practice about pause. When something happens, before you react,
Yeah.
pause. Me like pause. Your mind, your thought, everything. Pause so that it stop that knee jerk subconscious reaction, and just give a moment to just process it and then respond.
But
Like that happens, that kills a lot of relationship, business, work, a lot of things. Because that also leads like people jump into assumptions, all of that. Because you don't pause, you just move. So many times you just go off from worth if it's something that is emotional, because they talk about that too, about emotion and emotional intelligence. If something trigger on emotion, you just respond. Probably the response that you give did not help your situation.
no, it didn't. But you know, in Jamaica, them say, cause she brought up like when she remember she was getting flack for the when she went to some, is it an Emmy party or something, and she went in and then she got thrown out,
Mhm.
and um in the end she was getting flack for that, right? And so it goes back to what you, like what you say is like sometimes you have your right and your gateway. They tell us that like when we were growing up, our mom told us that
Yeah,
sometimes
said that a
you
lot.
have your rights and you give it away based on the way you respond
Respond.
to something. You
She
could be
said,
right. It's almost like, all right, you're in class and your teacher does something to you, right? Let's say the teacher accused you of stealing her pen, and you know you didn't steal the teacher's pen, but then you get up and you just cuss her out. You blankety blank, bloop, 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 blah, blah, blah. I didn't steal your what's it pen, and what's it, yeah. All right.
As I said, deep up under nastiness.
Right? So even if it came out later that you indeed didn't steal the pen, you now you already go and get suspended because you did not pause, like you said, and that knee-jerk reaction to just cuss her. You didn't pause and be like, let's reel this back, because who wants to be accused of being a thief? Nobody. Like, and you get riled up. But if you had taken a moment to pause, you would have held on to your rights, you know what I mean, and be able to handle the situation in a different way,
and also
and in a better way.
And also, because keep in mind that situation, back to the pen, happens right there. Teacher's like, oh, you steal the pen. You probably sit there about, ma'am, sir, I didn't take the pen. He's like, no, you took the pen. Detention. Cool, because now you're lying. Because it's like, you're a thief and you're lying. Cool. You get detention. If it played out like that, you could then go to your parents, they take it further, find out the pen wasn't stolen, she just misplaced it, whatever the case is. Then she gonna get herself in a problem.
No apology.
You understand? No, he have to apologize to you. Like, you're gonna get your due, right? You're gonna get your due, you're gonna get what you're supposed to get based on the outcome. But because they tell her about our parts, the Papandar or him, even though it comes to light that, yo, the pen was just misplaced, as I say, you're still gonna get no suspension, which is far worse than just the detention, because the detention will get strike off your record either way, when it comes to light, say, yo, you never take a pen. So it's like, and that can play out like with police pulling you over. You understand? You're being disrespectful and whatever. You can defend your right without that knee-jerk, why we have to know question, like, you can defend your right, make your point without doing that. You understand? You can do that in a calmer sense.
But here's the thing. We have a saying, he said, when you're in a lion mouth, you take time dry out. You see it? And I think a lot of times, I don't know, maybe these nowadays children, their parents don't grow them up with like proverbs and stuff like that, like our parents.
African and Jamaican proverbs. If you study all of those things, Jamaican proverbs, all of that is like, it's a dictionary for life.
It's a dictionary for life. Because guess what? I already know coming here.
Concepts apply to teachers.
When you're in a lion mouth, you take time dry out. That means say you don't do nothing to provoke the lion until you're far away, when you can then probably shoot him with a gun. You know, do nothing to provoke it. It's you know, like, you increases your chances of survival. It's not that the lion probably won't bite off your hand, but if you jerk it out, you increase the chances that you can go and get bitten off. But it's just things like that, like you learn. Because going back to her, I think even with the party that she got kicked out of, she got kicked out the party, and then immediately she had went on social media. Yes. And she made that post and talk about it was racism and this white girl kicked her out the party.
When the further thing came out, like, it wasn't that. So people start looking at her like,
and people start looking at her sideways now, like,
you played victim, man. It wasn't what you portrayed it to be.
Yes.
Because, and again, and that's what you say. That's why I said this interview, she sounded so much better. She didn't sound like,
she have a different perspective on life.
Yes. So if, like, in the moment that if she did pause,
you had paused.
Instead of immediately just social media and just wonder about things and just say all of she feel. If she did probably pause, wait till tomorrow, hear more things tomorrow morning, then talk about it, it'll probably have a different response.
Right.
And I said it plays right back in relationships, men and women. You understand? You see your woman on a phone and you call my son shady. Instead, they go grab a phone and go on a bag of things. Pause. Could I talk to her father? Somebody, when you understand, my man, that happened to man one time, you probably talk to your mother or your sister or some family member. And because you sound too loving, your woman just go off. And just on you. Just go off, only to find out You not talk to your mother.
It's my mom.
Yeah, son.
Right.
It's his mom. Like, so it's that.
That pause is
That
a
pause
that's a
thing.
good takeaway.
Like, I try to
Pause.
practice it. I tell a lot of people to practice it. It is essential for life,
Yep.
for just living in
Take a
life,
pause, man.
for just knowing. Because I remember sitting there and said, Abba and Preach on their YouTube, because Preach is married, and Abba asked him, say, "Oh, you've been married for years now. What would be your advice to any couple, anybody coming up?" And he said one thing, because he's a comedian, he's kind of funny, but he said one thing, and I'm gonna curse now because I'm paraphrasing. He said, "Way mama do you think you need to learn? Shut the fuck up." Man and woman, you just need to know in a relationship or whenever, you just shut the fuck up. Your partner says something to you, in that moment, you want to carry on to our next level, you're gonna make something simple into a bigger thing. All you need to do, just shut the fuck up. Like, so my time is just not that serious. It is not. You make your emotions and whatever run off, and you make simple things into greater things that it doesn't need to be, because you just chat too much.
But
As in
again,
Jamaica, you chat too much. Sometimes you just need to shut the fuck up.
but again, also, like she said, emotional intelligence, a lot of people don't have it and they don't work on having it. Because when you have emotional intelligence, it allows you also to hear what is not being said. Because a lot of people, when we don't develop the spectrum or the fullness of our emotional range, and it's what may I say? When, like, I know people, if they're sad, it expresses anger. If they're disappointed, it expresses anger. If they are, I know, any negative feeling expresses anger. So they would come across as they only have two modes: either they're happy or they're angry. And so and so even when you talk to someone and they're saying something, if your emotional intelligence is, if that muscle is strong, you will hear what is not being said. So this person is going off and they're angry and they're talking this and that and blah blah blah, and you're looking like, okay, and you're hearing them, you're like, but that's not anger. They're disappointed about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're upset about, so now you have to talk to them, because you can't react. Now you can't let them trigger you and then you get angry. Because when they're angry, they're gonna say some stuff to you that you're thinking, right? Like, what did you just, excuse you? And you gotta be like, okay, let me hold this in, listen.
Hold on. When you finish,
you listen and you're like, okay, so you're actually upset about me drinking your water, but you don't come turn to me and say, why did you drink my water? You come and say, dirty gal, you know say enough, blah 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 blah, and you're thinking like, I see you walk around and thief people things and take up things on a fear, and you take up people water and this and that, and you're like, wait a minute, hold on, what? So you're like, oh, she's upset that I took this water that I didn't ask her. Okay. So now I have to understand that and not get triggered by the fact that you just call me dirty gal, wherein that's the first thing I heard. So now I'm about to cuss you and tell you about your parts, right?
But
so now I have to pull back and be like, okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't think it would be a big deal. And it may be the water that her husband gave her and she was really looking forward to drinking her water, but I did. But I didn't know that. So now I have to reel back and be like, listen, I'm so sorry. I know I can't replace that water. I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. But then after you get through all that, then you have to say to your friend, listen, in the future, this dirty gal business, we can't have that. Like in the future, if I upset you, tell me what I've done to upset. Like right, you know what I'm saying? Like you then know you have to set boundaries. Like, listen, you cross the line and you can't do that. I mean, and here's the other thing. I'm saying so much things in one. I read this book. I forgot what book it was in, but I know Iyanla. You know, I love Iyanla Vanzant. And she said something that is it's to this day I live by. She said you set your boundaries and then you tell them what the consequences for when the boundary is violated. And not only you say what the consequences, you follow through with what you've just said.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say to someone,
have to be consequences for action.
Have to. So if you say to someone, if you cheat, I will leave. You know what happens if they cheat?
You leave.
Leave. If you don't leave, because there's some people, okay, we're going, but it can't be like we're gonna pretend like you didn't do it.
Nope.
There's consequences to this. You're gonna go back to ground zero and work you all way back up to 10. This is not gonna be like, oh, I apologize. Didn't you get over it? No, I have not. So how about you put in the work to build my trust? You see what I'm saying? Like there
has to be some consequences for action.
Follow through with consequences.
And this reminds me of something I made here years ago. Same thing. Forgot which psychologist said, but he says it was a study where the guy said you can tell how long a relationship will last based on how people fight.
Yes.
Because one of the things that we don't really learn.
Yeah, we don't.
Is conflict resolution.
Yes.
We don't really learn that.
But you learn those things in like in relationships. Like when you have a healthy relationship, whether it's with your mom, your dad, if you grew up in a 2-parent household, or if you grew up with your mom and your grandma, or your mom and her auntie, but you learn that in that context of family. But if your family don't know anything about conflict resolution, you're gonna learn whatever they know, which is nothing.
Have one blowout, they want it every couple of days, and then pretend like nothing, and be passive aggressive and all these other things. So you understand? It's like so that it comes right back to the relationship. You have to learn to resolve conflict. You have to know how to fight. Because here's the thing. Come right back to the example about dirty girl. You can say certain things in anger that will never be fixed.
Never.
So you and your partner have a problem, either your mood or your feelings, or you say a bag of things.
You're coming just like your father.
You understand? Or you see, that's our for example, somebody said to you say, you see, that is why your dirty father walk out from you and your mother.
That's why your mother left you.
You understand? All of the, you understand the type of sitting there? Like, yes, you're vexed, but you ever saying to you, once the arrow comes off the bow, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember every word, like once the arrow leaves the bow, the person who fires it have no control.
Nope.
So once that comes out your mouth, that's it.
It's already done.
There's no control how that person go feel. There's no control that person go react.
Already done.
And if the person, after all that, after not done and quiet down, they decide to see how them left you can't consider.
Yep, it's already done.
You understand? The arrow already shot. And it's a bullseye. You hit them right in the fields.
Or even if they don't leave you.
I know they will never look at you the same way.
Not only, listen, even if they don't leave you, here's what will happen.
Resentment.
And you hold on. I read this book by Dr. Henry Cloud, and he talks about safe people. You are no longer a safe person.
Yeah. So one part of them will close off to your.
Safe people are people that you can actually be yourself with. They know they know the good, the bad, and the ugly about you, and they won't weaponize it to hurt you in the future.
Oh, I think she mentioned so many times
You
about
can
weaponizing emotions.
you don't weaponize, and in relationships, that's a real thing, because who knows where all your triggers are, where all your little things that you're sensitive
Button,
about,
the
the
buttons.
person that lives with you. And if you know all that and then you use it against them, you no longer become a safe person. So they know, and they might not say it to you, but in the back of their mind, they're like, I will never tell you anything about me ever again. You will not get this close to me because I don't want you to hurt me. How
And
many people are in relationships that their partner don't see them as safe? Let's take it a step further. How many people have parents who are not safe? You can't tell your parent nothing, because if it come out your mouth, you either they're going, well, you see, you went do this and this, and you see, and that's when you're like, but I didn't tell you that. So now,
you can use it back
months
again.
later, you're using it as a club to beat me with. I was being vulnerable and I told you that. So now I know you're not safe. I will tell you the highlight reel of my life. If I'm going through something hard, you ain't knowing nothing about it, because you're not a safe person. A lot of parents, a lot of Jamaican parents are not safe.
Yes, facts.
They're not safe. And it's just
Facts.
our culture, is the way in which our culture tell us to parent.
You understand? So when you beat him, you beat him for everything all when do 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like you never forget. So although we got church and we talk about forgive
Oh,
and move on and forget, you don't forget nothing.
not happening.
You understand?
Not in
So
this household.
so your parent look on you one type of way, your partner does the same.
Yeah.
And the thing we say about not being safe and getting highlight reels, she mentioned being in a dark place to the point that she was
That she
suicidal.
was suicidal. Yep.
You understand? And oh, she not like Hollywood and all that. And this is a greater thing about people, because you're seeing her on social media, she was on the reel, this and that. You would have
Like, she
never,
got it going on.
because Envy said that like you,
She ain't
if
got
she
no
never come and said that,
problems.
he said you would have never known. And
That she was in such a dark place in her life.
dark place.
Where
And
she,
a lot of people, and this is like people who do suicides all the time. The
Yeah.
people that commit the suicide, we ask people like, did he give any? It's not everybody gives you signs.
Mhm.
Some people might give you a cry for help or whatever. Some people you don't see that. You just know say next minute tree, whatever, walk on for the car, whatever, jump up a building, whatever. You just hear say yo.
But it's
There's
often
no call for
people,
help, nothing.
it's often people that people like think like, oh, but she's so strong. He's so strong. And so people don't tend to check on their strong ones.
But again, you come right back down to what I talked about originally from the start about building strength. Building strength to protect yourself, but that same strength that you're building is what preventing people from loving you. Because that's a perfect
It's not
example.
even, it's
Because
not,
you're so strong,
let's
nobody
not
gonna
call it
think
a
about
strength. You call it
because
fence. You're building a fence or
but
a wall.
but people refer to it as strength. You don't say it. Check on your strong ones. We often refer to it as strength.
Yeah.
People, you know, they everything they push through and whatever.
She
Not
said that in an
realizing.
interview
You
where,
understand?
she was just as strong, and she just by any means necessary, and she's pushing and she's doing, and that's why now she's like, I'm tired of it. Like, I want to be able to breathe. I want to be able to be soft. I want to be able to not to have to micromanage people. One of the things she said, it is such a relief to have a team around you wherein, because, and it was so good she said that, if you are like the leader and you have to micromanage everybody because you don't trust in their ability, as a leader you have to vision, right? You have to be the one to set the pace for the company. You have to have a vision for where this is going. You have to be able to dream. But if you are so busy micromanaging, how you going to have time to dream and like say, okay, 10 years from now, you're too busy trying to micromanage. How many leaders you know that
Do
like
that.
they are so micromanaging. They give you an area to do and they won't let you do it. They have to
Then come back
come
and take.
and micromanage what you're doing.
Like you're sweeping, like you're mopping a floor, and you're going left to right. They come and say, "No, you need to go right to left." Like it's like if you're not doing it their way, it's not being
It's
done at
not
all.
being done at all. It's crazy. And so now she's like, I want to have this mutually beneficial, mutual respect relationship, not only with my business people, people that I am employed, people that I employ, but she's like, I also want to have this in a relationship. She said it, and in my mind, I was thinking like, was there any other way? But again, because for me, that's to me that was like a given. Like,
Because
why would I
you
want to be in a relationship with
you
somebody that
you
I don't trust
were
and I have to micromanage them?
you were at that point. That's what she said in the interview too. She's now at the point because he said she thought she was ready for a relationship, but
Yeah,
now
she
she
said that,
realized.
but she realized that she wasn't.
And that
But a lot of women,
and
and this
men,
is why too, why like some comedies I hated them. Like everybody, like Raymond, was it that
yeah,
Raymond?
everybody love Raymond.
I hate that comedy because it portrays the mom, like she has to micromanage her husband, she's
Kids,
micromanaging her kids, and I always thought to myself, this is not funny. Why would this be? And if you look at lots of the comedies that come out now, they're like that. You have this mom who has her husband is a big kid that she has to micromanage, and and then she has to run the house and micromanage the kids. And I'm thinking like, why would I want a man that I have to micromanage and I can't trust him to be my equal and parent? Why? I don't get it. I don't get it.
it's like and it's sad really because we have so I think it comes one of the things is this. It's fear of being hurt, but a lot of the times as a human being, you can't grow without not being hurt. It's unfortunate, but like they say, corner you know you say tail to chop
Until
off.
you chop off.
Sometimes it tail of chop off. Fear value things and value people. So sometimes people go in a relationship trying not to get hurt, but in the end, self-sabotage relationship because you have to be vulnerable. And by being with the person and being vulnerable, you will learn who is for you and who is not
It's
for you.
not.
What you like and what you don't like. And then it will help you to attract and also go after the person that will
But here,
be a better fit for you.
but here's
But
the thing.
again, we're so afraid of getting hurt
But here's the thing, though.
and the protecting and the walls and the fences.
But I think the whole afraid of getting hurt thing, I think it's also a fallacy. And I think it's a fallacy that maybe I'm going on a limb, that these little Disney animations, they
The
they
fairy tale,
these fairy tales. Oh, here comes the girl, and there's this cute
romance novels,
prince that kisses her, and then they ride off into the sunset, and they have this beautiful relationship that lasts forever and ever and ever with no
happily
problem,
ever after,
no
literally.
nothing, and
Literally, it says happily
it's a
ever after.
fairy tale that is being sold to little girls and boys, especially little girls, and it's not true.
Yes.
Period. And like trying to prevent hurt is like trying to catch the wind in a bottle. It's damn near impossible. You can minimize, but it's damn
I'm
near
making
impossible.
wise decisions, but certain things you just not gonna like. There's a young boy no storm. Like there's just certain things you're
It's
not
like
gonna
driving a car. Who the
like.
hell wants to get in an accident? You can minimize your chances of getting an accident, but look at your whole life of driving. You gonna tell me that you're not gonna meet in one accident?
And when accident, no mean say you have a big accident, you're gonna be fatal and kill yourself.
Yeah.
Just gonna bumper, bend something like one curve, scrape. You understand? Because that's how you learn judgment.
We don't walk around, but we don't walk around thinking that way when it comes to driving. I will never. Like some people do, but the majority of us don't like, oh, I met in one accident. So no, like me write off car, bus, truck, bike. I
I
ain't
know,
doing
right? Me scrape the bumper yesterday. Done with car. But
done
yet
with
still,
car.
you don't want you don't want a couple months relationship. You break your heart. All men are
Yep.
trash.
I'm in a
All women
trash.
are
I'm done with
devil.
men. Or I'm done with women. Like, no. Like
On the relationship.
you learn like from all the bumps and scrapes what you're supposed to do, in my opinion, is it's a learning opportunity. And you grow. But you know the funny thing is too, a lot of times, people feel like we do our majority of our growth in when we're happy go lucky and everything is woo and everything is fine. It actually doesn't happen that way. You actually grow as a person when you are pressed, when you're going through a difficult season or you're going through something painful.
There is a
You
quote.
grow.
I don't remember who said it. I don't remember word for word. I probably should look at it on my phone, but I'm just going to paraphrase it. I think the concept says the flowers bloom after the storm.
Mm.
In other words, when the rain comes, the storm comes, beat down everything, wind blow everything, say you mash up. That's when the flowers bloom the prettiest. So it's saying like, yo, you have to experience life. You have to go through these not so nice moments. Because at the end of it, if you learn from it, that's when you're gonna bloom the best. That's when you're gonna be your best self. But lots of people, guess when the storm comes, we go inside. You run from the storm, you shelter from it. Yes, and like the storm will come, you have a plant out the door, you probably put it in a house. But you probably should left you out to make you get beat up by the rain. Because you go come back better. Yeah. So that's I remember that quote. Because when I heard it the first time, I was like, man, that's
And
simple.
there's also another quote. I don't know if I'm like saying it right, but it talks about like the end to all suffering is acceptance.
Yes. I've heard something to that
It's
effect.
something like that. So it's like you walk around in your relationship and you're just like you're scared that someone is gonna hurt you. But it's crazy. But if you just accept it, that listen, if this is gonna happen, it's gonna happen. There's nothing I can do to
And just do
prevent.
my best.
All I can do is be in this relationship, being authentic to myself and show up as the best me that I know how to be. And I'm not worried about whether or not. And it's scary, you know what I'm saying? From a person like being in a relationship, I'm engaged. It's scary because when you focus on being hurt, then immediately your mind goes into MacGyver mode. I'm watching his phone. Oh, that you immediately go into that. I'm looking for something mode. You see what I'm saying? Because because you're immediately trying to protect yourself immediately, and you started obsessing over the shit. Oh, wonder if he's doing this and if he's doing that, and he's cheating and da 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 and da da da. Like it. So, and it's hard. And I had to go through this. I said, you know what? There's nothing I can do about it. And if it shit happens, it happens. In fact, so I don't want it to happen. However, I have no control over whether this happens or not. And I'm accepting that this is a possibility. Who
And
wants to think about it like that? I'm
there's a,
accepting that this is a possibility. Do I want it to happen? Nope. But I'm accepting that this is a possibility, and that's it.
and then you shift the energy.
You shift that energy.
Energy you use to do all that protecting into actually loving and nurturing your
Yes,
relationship.
and nurturing your relationship. because you've already settled within yourself that, yo, this is not outside the realm of possibility. Because a lot of time what we're trying to prevent, literally, think about it. You have no power to prevent. The only way you have power to prevent it is unless you go and put this person into a cage and lock them up. And even then, you probably can prevent it. You have no power over controlling someone. None. The only person you can control is yourself. The only person you can control is yourself. So why sit here and have this? Just accept it. This is within the realm of possibility because he or she is their own person. They can make whatever decision they want to make. You just need to know for yourself your boundaries and what is acceptable to you and what is not. And make it clear. That's it.
And be intentional in what you're doing.
As they say, you just leave the rest to God and you accept it. This is within the realm of possibility. That's it.
And you
just move on.
You just say put the energy into watering your garden. Like that's only like the whole concept of grass greener on the other side type of thing. If you actually spend that time that you're watching your neighbor's garden or grass and spend that time watering your own grass, you might end up with a greener grass than your neighbor's.
You wouldn't even probably notice that the neighbor's grass is greener.
Yeah.
And maybe the only reason it's greener is because you think it's greener. Because you're looking at it.
Or the neighbor grass is fake. It's not even real grass.
Grass, and you over there like discounting your, oh God.
A lot of people, like even relationships, will compare themselves to other people. And the shit is
do you know how many relationships get ruined because of that? Because you comparing your husband to your friend's man. Well, if you were only like John, and your man is looking at you like,
then go be with John.
Do you want me or do you want John? Well, you see how John opened the door for Mary? If you were only like John,
you're going with John.
But you don't know what Mary over there faced with John. John could be out and outside, you know. John could be the nicest guy. He opens the door. He like showers her with hugs and kisses. All this stuff on the outside when they're around people. When they get in that house, he beats her. No, you are telling your husband, if only you were like John. You know how many women do that or how many men do that where they compare their partner? Well, if your butt was only as big as, you know, Jana's, or your breast isn't as big as, you know, Kim's, something. So now the grass is greener on the other side. So now you just ruin a relationship with a person, with a good man or a good woman. And so now they're gone. And now you're like, crap.
I want to know inside tail until it cut off. So, you know, but the thing about it is I'm glad that Amanda said that and she talked about being in a dark place to the point of him being suicidal and all that. Because that, to me, if you even see the comments under the video, most of them are
never, yeah.
And a lot of women were like, yep, same thing. Them no understand the same thing. They know a lot of women go through this, blah, blah, blah. Because that's it. That's how I'm saying. After watching this interview, like I have a new appreciation for her. Because like I said, I've always respected her, but sometimes in certain things that she don't want to say, just to be like, but this, trust me, I watched it to the end and I'm like,
new Amanda Seales.
Yeah, man. Like
what
your song.
Yeah, that's new and improved. And she talked about like doing the work, going to therapy. She's doing Reiki.
Yes, talk about being to therapy and all of that.
But years ago when I listened to Oprah, and she always talks about you doing the work. That's her thing. She and Iyanla doing the work. And a lot of times we put a lot of work into like the career, the business and stuff like that. But we don't take time to work on ourselves. You have to do the work. If you need to go read some books, read the book. If you need to go to therapy, go to therapy. There's a lot of self-help. I know for us, we started out by just reading. and we shared what we read, and like, yo, read this book help, and da da da, and just understanding our life and the context of our experiences, because we purposely went out and found information in order to help us with our healing and the process. And then for me, I even went a step further. I went to therapy, you know. But you want to wrap this up?
Like, yeah, because to me that part of the interview is a part that really got me. I listened to her and I'm like, that's facts, fam. It's
Yep.
like, although you're talking about yourself, this goes into like a greater context of human living and life and relationships and all of
Yep.
that. Because so you understand. So sometimes you think you're ready, you're really not ready,
You're really not ready.
because there's a lot of healing to do,
Hmm.
and until you're not gonna know until. And sometimes it's unfortunate, but sometimes you have to go to some real dark places. So when you come out, you can appreciate the light.
But another thing, say, I one time I was in church and I heard this guy. He said it. He says, life will give you the same things over and over and over again until you pass the test.
That's all like a testimony.
Until you pass the test. It will come in the same way, but with different people in different circumstances. But a lot of times we are so asleep that we don't realize, and we don't step back and say, hold on now. What am I supposed to learn here? Like, I cannot be going through the same thing, the same theme, the same thing over and over and over again. What's
Like,
going on?
one of the greatest quotes ever comes right back to, I think, is it Confucius? I need to go on my Google and check this shit, but I'm just talking on the top of my head. Know thyself.
Know that it's Confucius. Know thyself.
Know thyself. Like, that, to me, is the hardest thing you will ever do in your life.
It is. You have to have a really
important thing you will ever do in your life.
It is.
Yeah.
No, and you also have to have people who in your life who are who understand who you are, see who you are, but also will be honest with you.
She's talked about that too, quickly, about her ex. Although they break up, he was the first person to actually see her like how she see herself. Yes, and he was one of the first person.
He spoke to her strengths.
To love her, not the package that she put out there.
In spite of all her rough edges. Yeah.
Yes, and so although it ain't work out, but I think walking away from the relationship, she learned so much more, and she learned to love herself more and appreciate herself more. Can that you say? I like, after going through that dark spot, she realized, yo, she think she didn't love herself. And this, trust me, she said, she think she will love herself, but she realized she didn't really love herself. Mm-hmm. So that like denial is not only a river in Egypt. A lot of people, we think, as I said, we think you're ready, you think you know yourself, you think you love yourself, all of this. But trust me, not until certain things hit, you will know.
Yeah.
You'll know.
Yeah.
You'll know.
Again, what we say. This is a lot. This was like like one of our more serious kind of talks, I guess. But it was necessary.
Yeah, that's because necessary. The topic demanded a certain level of, yeah.
She said a lot of, again, we should put the link to the
interview.
We're
gonna put the link to the interview
in the description. So if you want to go check that out, go check it out. It was a really good interview. They asked some good questions, and again, she talked about why she left the real, and that was a part of just her self-development and self-discovery. And here's what the thing that I really, really love that she did. Some people that, because the real is a huge platform, she's getting all this money, they would be hard pressed to walk away from that for their own mental health and personal
health and peace of mind.
She's like, it came to a point where her mental health and personal well-being was not okay. And she said, and that's again, loving herself. She's like, I'm putting myself first. I'm not putting this money, this spotlight. Dave Chappelle did the same thing.
Yeah, when he left Hollywood.
When he walked away from Hollywood and people were like, he crazy, probably on
Because
drugs.
he left, like,
It was none of that. He was in the height of his career. And Dave Chappelle said, nah, enough. My mental health and well-being is
family and all that come first.
Family comes first. How many people would actually have the strength to do that when you look at the amount of money you're going to be losing?
You know, and she said that too. She said that in the interview too. So she came to realize that, yo, the point where she don't need no more wealth.
She did.
These things where people make she grow and inspire and she make change in our community and all of that. She realized, yo, me don't need no more money. Like money, getting more money is not what I need. What I need is the avenue and the space to be me.
And they even said, like, yo, for somebody that's poor and coming up, they can be like, yeah, right, man. You can say whatever you want to say. But, you know, she's right. And it's a privilege for her to say that. But she
said that, but that's why I said the interview was good because she said that. She said, yo, it's a privilege
in that
for her to be at that point where she can't say, yo, I don't need no more money.
A lot of people can't say that because they're still in the struggle. But when you get to a point where you're like, you know what? Like,
at what point enough becomes enough?
No, but you know, okay. This is going to be
enough is never enough.
Hold on, this should be another topic that we should discuss. There's a difference between I think where she is not enough. It's called being content. That's the word. And being content does not mean that you don't strive to be the best and you don't strive to be more, but it's just that where you are content and you're not striving with life. You're not hustling.
Fighting.
You're not fighting. You're content. Contentment is, and I think that's, you see, when you get to that place though, it's a sweet spot. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to grow. You're going to get money hand over fist. That's what I'm excited to see what's going to happen with her. This was good. You know, that's all I got to say.
Like it's a yo, God, like more
power to her, man.
Saw the growth. You like, because she lived in front of the camera doing all these interviews, you saw the progress. You understand? So it's good to.
Because at one point we were thinking, like, is she narcissistic?
Yes.
Or were people saying like, this girl seems like she's narcissistic as heck?
Or she have a victim mentality. Like, as I said, you have times when she's like, but in this interview, she clarified that. And you understand now, so yo.
Yeah.
Even you have realized, yo, you know, certain traits were not helping.
Yeah.
They really was not. You understand? So you have to make the stubbornness go. You have to be vulnerable to yourself. I can admit to, yo, you know, say this thing that I'm holding on to all my life, it has helped, but now I need to let it go.
Yeah, I need to let it go. And that's hard. Because she also talked about that. Like us as Black people, we hold on to pain because that pain and that thing is what make us strong. And
it becomes our identity.
Yes.
So we become prideful, like you become glad, and like it becomes a badge of honor.
Yes.
Yo, I you know, I was blessed in, or whatever. I'm going to the extremes, but you now
this angry.
Yeah, that's how you now hold on to that pain and you protect it.
Yeah.
And it
that becomes a part of your identity because it's part of what is pushing you forward. But there comes a time
when you go start holding you back.
Yes, you have to.
It might push you forward in a business, but you go hold you back in your personal life.
Yeah.
Or
even in business, it might hold you back. You'll go so far and no more because some people will not do business with you because of your temperament. They just won't. They won't put up with it. That's it. They're done. So you go and you go this far and you can't go anymore because you need to shift. In order for you to shift, you need to like get
let go. You need let go of pain and throw it away.
Thing.
And heal and move on.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sound like you're in survival mode. And even when you're in abundance, you're still
in that survival mentality. Like you're scrapping. Like you're like, yo,
And
you
always alert.
comfortable. Like why you
Always on the lookout.
yeah, yeah. And you can never relax. You're
Yeah.
just like, person, can you relax? No. Anyways, bro, this was a good one. So almost I think we're an hour in. Gotta
Yeah.
wrap this up. All right,
Another episode of the Nazi podcast and the
Nasty,
Nazi Exchange.
nasty
Nazi.
exchange. So this was good. Again, rate, comment, subscribe, and catch us.
Share your thoughts.
Yes, share your thoughts. Tell us what you think. If you watch the interview, what was your thoughts on the interview? Um, yeah, drop us a note, and see you next time. Again, whether you're nasty or you can't see, clean up your heart and come.
Which is right.